Good evening. This is Rich Volz with the Educational Leadership Solutions, and I have with me Max McComb, President of Mahomet Seymour School Board, and Sonny McMurray, a member of the Mahomet Seymour School Board. And we're going to be talking about the Mahomet Seymour Superintendent search that was recently concluded with the hiring of Dr. Ken Lee as the superintendent. So my first question for you, Max, is what are your overall impressions of the involvement of Educational Leadership Solutions in your superintendent search?
My overall impressions were very, very positive of ELS. Right out of the gate, I was impressed by the professionalism, which, you kind of expect that when you hire consultants, but in my other real life, I've learned that, sometimes you don't always get that when you think you should, and they were just great. They were very prompt. They always presented themselves well, extremely professional, everyone we spoke with. The other thing that I really appreciated and thought was great with them is ELS was able to do a great job attracting candidates for the candidate pool. They did a lot of research. They're very well connected within the educational community. And I thought did a superb job bringing us a group of qualified candidates, which I was very impressed with.
Sonny?
I think one of the things that impressed me most is how much experience everybody at ELS has with school districts and schools in general. And so, as a board member, you don't always understand the inner workings of how school districts need to operate with the personnel. You've got this great big picture, but the day-to-day operational piece, you may not understand that because you're not living it. But I feel like the people who are part of the ELS team really knew what we would need in a superintendent. The communication was outstanding. I felt like when you guys would come and speak to us as a board and say, hey, here's what we're looking at, talk to us about what you're looking for. That communication piece was beautiful. I felt like I was heard. I could tell that other board members felt like their wishes were heard as well. So those really stood out to me.
Okay, with the second question, we'll start with Sonny's answer. What do you think of the unique way that ELS uses data in the decision-making process?
So I loved that. I'm a big, anytime we're making huge decisions like this for a school district, data should really be driving those decisions. And I loved the fact that we could take all of our different perspectives, put them together into these data points, identify what it was exactly that we were looking for as a board, identify the key qualities that we were looking for, but then also figure out what candidates actually had those key qualities and how would they fit within our district. It was very cool.
Max?
I'm going to agree. I think that was a big part in your ability to deliver to us a group of really qualified individuals, because you had that data, you had those data points. The other piece of data that was extremely helpful, I thought, was we went ahead and we had the salary survey done, and that provided a lot of really great, useful information to us also. And that I think played a big role in helping and guiding that part of our decision.
I would agree with that. I'm going to add on to that. I think that, that's where I think we would have gotten lost in the weeds on that as a board and having our conversations and really wanting to make sure that we're paying what somebody is worth, but then still not entirely sure, if we've got this superintendent making this, well, what should we pay hours? So to come in with that data was really helpful. I agree.
Okay, and on the third question, Max, you'll lead off. How did Dr. Poliak and I help you with the selection of your next superintendent?
Well, not only was the candidate selection great and all the help with the data great, but you were very helpful. Our board, other than myself, no one on our board had been through this process before. We had 6 or 7 board members who had never seen this process in action or done anything like, several of them had never done anything like this. And you were very, very helpful in setting expectations, explaining the process. Here's how it works. When folks had questions or parts they didn't understand, you were very good at explaining it. and helping people to understand why things happen maybe the way they do sometimes during this process. And I really, as someone who had been through it before, but was working with a group of people who had not, that was very helpful. And I really appreciated that.
Sunny?
For me, the big thing was I knew I could trust you. And that was huge to me. You know, I wanted to know that the search firm that we hired, you know, we looked at several, and I wanted to know that the search firm that we hired would have our district's best interest in mind and would help guide us through this process, which, you know, we have a hard time agreeing on some things as a board, that this could have just been a train wreck. And the fact that it was so smooth shows me that I'm not the only one who trusted your leadership and your involvement. Our entire board trusted what you were doing. So it was a big trust piece for me. I felt like you guys knew what you were doing and you came in and explained it so clearly to us. It was key.
Okay, Sunny, you'll be first up on this next question.
Okay.
Would you recommend EDLS to other boards of education?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think, you know what, again, going back to the research that we did, we looked at a lot of different firms. And I think one of the things that I liked, several things that stood out to you, and I might steal Max's answers, but several things stood out about your firm. The fact that you could understand our Central Illinois school district. You know, we're different than other districts in Illinois, and we're not a suburban district, and we're not the city of Chicago. And I felt like you could understand that about us. And I also felt like I mentioned before, the experiences that all of you have had within schools was unmatched in the other firms that we had looked at.
Max?
Yep, I'll agree. I'd recommend you without hesitation. Like I said earlier, this is the third time I've done that. The first two, we used a different firm and they were great. I don't have any complaints with them. And in fact, for me, it was kind of a little bit of uncertainty, right? I had used another firm twice before and it had good experience with them. I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? So I did my homework real quick and reached out to contacts around the state. And what I heard out of the gate about your firm was very positive, and you lived up to it every step along the way.
Okay, Max, for our final question, any further thoughts you'd like to offer on this superintendent search process?
I would say a couple things. I think it's important for districts to look for a firm that is well connected in the geography and in the areas that they're looking. And you certainly were that for us. And your organization certainly was for us. Not only you personally, because you're pretty well connected, but the rest of your team. You knew people in different parts of the state. You could reach out for us. And even the candidates that came from areas outside, maybe that we typically wouldn't think about because they're not areas a lot like our area, were folks that would fit in here and would match. And that was because of the level of expertise your organization has in knowing people and knowing candidates and knowing how to sift through those people. And then I think the other part, again, that was huge for us was just having your ability to guide our board through this and say, here's how the pieces fit together. And we had some board members that, because of what they do for a living, had some ideas that maybe they thought would coordinate to an educational search, but maybe don't. And you were able just to kind of help them understand how this works together, how the pieces fit together, and just did a really super job in guiding our board through all that.
Sunny, your thoughts?
I think a lot of what Max said, I would agree with. The other thing that I found really relieving was how accessible you guys were. I mean, if we had any question at any given point in time, Max would be like, well, let me call Rich. Let me get a hold of Rich. Let me find out. Let me ask him. I mean, it was at the drop of a hat, we would have an answer, and it was never an issue. And so I appreciated that because, like Max said, he's the only one who's done this before. So we're all newbies thinking, okay, well, what are we getting into? And we knew that we could find the answers if we needed to, and you guys would be available.
Well, thank you very much, Max and Sunny, for participating in this interview with our firm, and best of luck. And I think you've got a great new superintendent that'll be starting in July.
Thanks, Rich.
We think so too. Thank you.